Welcome to this explainer. I want to kick things off with a scenario that has probably happened to you at least once. Picture this. You're reading an article about prompting and it hits you with like 12 different frameworks. And hey, a few of them actually sound pretty useful, right? So you save the tab. But let's be real. 2 days later, you can't remember a single one of them. Well, look, that is absolutely not your fault. 12 is just way too many to keep in your head. Honestly, you don't need 12. You really only need 4. So it's time to stop memorizing prompt frameworks. These 4 core patterns are going to cover about 90% of what you actually do with AI day to day. And once you've got them down, you literally stop overthinking the prompting part and you just start using it. Pattern 1, role, input, goal. This right here is going to be your absolute default for almost everything you do. It's super straightforward. Board, you just need to give the AI 3 very specific things. Who it needs to be, what it needs to work with, and exactly what success looks like at the end. Let's look at a really simple example. Instead of just tossing out something vague like clean up this email, you'd write, you're a professional editor. Here's my draft. Rewrite it to sound direct and clear, under 100 words. See the difference? That is the pattern in action. Role, input, goal. And listen, that role, it is not just decoration. It fundamentally shifts how the AI processes information. Telling the model it's a senior copywriter who specializes in SaaS is going to process your text completely differently than just saying you are a writer. Basically, the more specific you are with that role, the more incredibly targeted your output is going to be. Now, the goal matters just as much. Saying make it better is, well, it's not a goal. Rewrite for a non-technical audience, maximum 2 sentences. Now that is a goal. But here's crucial details to remember. The goal should describe exactly where to land, not how to get there. If you overspecify all the little steps, you'll actually usually end up making the answer worse. Okay, moving on to pattern 2, show examples. You know those times when you need a very specific format? Yeah, describing it in words almost never works. You just end up writing this massive paragraph of instructions that the AI at best only half follows. So instead of doing that, just show it 3 examples of what you actually want. The AI will read them and literally build the pattern on the spot. You don't even have to explain the rules anymore because the examples teach the rule directly. Think of it kind of like trying to explain a song to a friend. You could sit there and describe the instruments and tempo for 5 minutes, or you could just hum the first few bars. The humming works better every single time. I do have to give you one quick warning here though. If your examples are inconsistent with each other, the AI is going to get super confused. It won't know which pattern it's supposed to copy. So just make sure all your examples follow the exact same format and you'll be golden. Next up is pattern 3, step by step. And this one is fascinating actually, because there is a very real structural mechanism behind why it works so well. Here's the secret. When the AI generates an intermediate step, that step actually becomes part, its own input for the very next phase. So it's building on its own visible reasoning rather than just jumping straight to a blind guess. That is exactly why the output improves so much. You're not just making the process visible for your own sake, you're fundamentally changing how the model arrives at its answer. The old teacher analogy hits the nail on the head here. When your math teacher told you to show your work on a test, that wasn't just some arbitrary grading rule. The work is where the mistakes hide, right? Now, there is a bit of a catch. If you are using a dedicated reasoning model, so think Claude with adaptive thinking turned on, or OpenAI's OA series, those models are already doing this internally. Actually, forcing them to reason step by step explicitly can hurt the output. You're basically interfering with a process that's already running smoothly behind the scenes. So definitely save this pattern for standard models or use it only when you absolutely need the reasoning presented in a very specific order. All right, that brings us to pattern 4, define done. This is one that honestly most people never even think to use. See, old style prompts tend to script absolutely everything. Step 1, read the document. Step 2, extract the claims. Step 3, search for each one. And yeah, sure, it works, but it really boxes the AI in. If even one of those steps fails, the whole shebang breaks down. A much better approach for longer tasks is to just name the target and tell the AI when to stop. So instead of scripting out all those rigid steps, you'd write something like, fact check this article. Done means every claim has a verdict and a source URL. 1 search per claim. After 2 searches, mark it unverified and move on. It's the exact same job, but now the AI figures out the best path. You just own the destination. Oh, and one small aside here. Whenever you get the urge to write always or never in all caps in a prompt, just pause for a second. Most of those aren't actual unbreakable laws. They're decisions based on logic. So write the specific decision rule instead. It is so much more useful for the model. So to wrap this up, that is your 4 patterns. Role, input, goal. For your everyday work, show examples when the format really matters, step by step for complex reasoning, and define done for those longer, trickier tasks. Remember, you do not need to memorize a dozen complex frameworks. You just need to clearly know what you're actually asking for. So I'm curious, which of these do you find yourself using most?